There are no one like fans, and that's why Sky Bet are giving you weekly free bets and boosts all season long. So make sure you click the link in the description and take advantage of these great offers. Sky Bet for the fans.
Well, you need the money, I hear, the financials.
Well, you need to. When you look at the money that Liverpool have made off the group stages alone, I think it's 9 figures. You're looking at 100 million they've made just from that. And obviously we've got this backdrop of news at the moment with Manchester United. They've announced the initial loss of around 250 jobs last summer. They've announced further jobs losses as well. 150 to 200 jobs are at risk now. We've even seen things like free lunches at the training ground for non-playing staff being cut. And they only get free soup and fruit now. It's like Montgomery Burns has took control of the
Wormwood Scrubs
of the thing. Yeah, apparently, what's bizarre to me?
You get an apple and some soup.
What's bizarre to me is that
Oliver Twist.
It saves $1 million a year. What were they feeding them? Who did they have in there cooking?
Yeah, Heston Blumenthal. Heston Blumenthal.
Like, what's going on? They announced last week they paid out £14.5 million to sack Ten Hag and his staff, as well as Dan Ashworth. And we've posted 5 consecutive years of losses amounting to a total of £373 million. Now, I do have a little bit of sympathy for the Inos group here because they've got to make all these difficult decisions which will piss a lot of people off because of the position that the Glazers have put us in. It was recently announced as well that just the interest United have paid on the debt that they put onto the club in 2005, which still remains. The debt's still there and bigger than it was in 2005. The interest alone has reached $1 billion now.
Yeah, it's
great. Phenomenal. They're taking 70 million out a year in dividends.
With that in mind, can I ask you both a question that I think is a very unfashionable question to ask? You never want to see people losing their jobs. Of course you don't. You never want to hear about a billionaire, a tax-exiled billionaire, thieving people's jobs, cutting people's livelihoods. Of course it doesn't sit comfortably. But for years and years, we've spoken about Manchester United being poorly run by the Glazers, getting things wrong, hemorrhaging money. If there are loads of people employed at a club that aren't necessary, that maybe aren't doing the job that they should be doing, is it not correct that the business owner, for Manchester United's sake, streamlines that? If the business can work by getting rid of 100 staff, but should Manchester United not? It's not bad that Manchester United are doing.
You're right. To your point there, sorry, Boo.
Yeah, go.
I think when you look at I saw a graph of the amount of staff that United had, and in 2012-13 it was 600. And then in that time since, it almost doubled.
Yeah, see what I mean?
And it's like, I understand you probably need a new social media team because that's all new and that.
Yeah.
But it's not like we've got a new stadium and a new training ground. We've got new things where you need more staff.
Like, I don't know, we constantly hear stories of people going, this is so out of order. Jim Ratcliffe's getting rid of the stuff. I'm like, well, if he thinks that the business can operate without them, am I being wrong? Am I getting
no, I don't think you are wrong.
To other clubs.
It's not the post office. It's not like a company. It's not like the co-op. It's like this is a football club that's spending a lot of money on players that aren't delivering on the pitch. That's the issue. It's never going to be a clean debate, is it? Because you give Dan Ashworth. What was Dan Ashworth doing for 5 months? Like if it's a small business and they get rid of 100 people, sometimes that's a financial reality. You're spot on, but Man United are spending so much money, and it feels like they're footballing mistakes, attacking working class people. And that's the issue.
You know, like totally agree with the point you're making. You know, like if we would say Luke Shaw's taking up X amount and he doesn't do anything, you can't sack him. You can't just get rid of someone who's got a contract, right? So
you can't
left
do that.
in a more difficult situation.
There are executives like Omar Barada's come in for £4 million a year. Like there are certain decisions where you do feel that they know the business inside and out. These redundancies surely must have been pre-planned. Surely,
Omar Barada is one that's interesting because I do think bringing in the likes of Omar Barada and not Ashworth, who's the other, Wilcox and all these different people.
Jason Wilcox,
They've worked, like Barada was at the best club in England, right? The league winners for however many times. He'd have come in and gone, hold on a minute, we've got 1,200 staff. They only had 700.
And they're winning the league every year.
They've got 700 there, so what's...
Yeah.
So, and I think a lot of those people that have come in...
Man United aren't Man City. Man City can do things in a new money kind of way because City were a small club when it was taken over. And Man United are the biggest club in world football,
But you know,
arguably.
when we talk about the waste, like if there are countless people at the club who are taking money out of employed by the club but aren't delivering, and I extend this to players. Casemiro is one. Luke Shaw is one. But why shouldn't that... like, people will go, Luke Shaw's not delivering for the club and he's earning, he should not be there. if you're not doing a job for the club, but you're on the staff, I don't understand why they shouldn't be sacked. Or am I missing?
No, I get your point, and I agree with it. I think it's just like you said at the start. You've got a billionaire who's just come in sacking people. It doesn't look good, but ultimately these decisions are being made because the club's been run into the ground via bad recruitment in terms of playing staff, via mainly via the Glazers' debt that's on the club and the interest and everything else that goes with that.
And they're trying to do it in order to protect, like, you know, when people go, oh, it's out of order to sack these people. Like, it's more out of order if Manchester United went into administration.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And Manchester United, the institution, needs to be protected. And they're saying that these drastic changes are going to protect the club if they qualify for the Europa League for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
So sacking all these people who clearly, whether they are doing a good job or not, someone significant has decided that the club operates well without them.
Yeah, and my thing is, it's not as if it's a surprise. I think Inos would have known about this a year ago when they first taken over. You do your work. When you buy a business or you buy a big asset, they would have known about the redundancies a year ago, 100%.
And you also think as well.
You don't buy. Would you spend 14 billion? Was it how much? 2 billion quid or 1 point?
I think they gave $1 billion and something to the Glazers, and then it was 250 million they invested.
What are we getting for the billion? They would have known there's 500 guys in the office. Like, the issue for me is like it's some surprising thing. Like they've known about this for a good long time. I think.
And I think like
it's not charity, is it? You can't just employ people.
You have to make the difficult decisions ultimately, and you have to. The point I was about to make then was that imagine if we didn't have that 200 odd million they'd invested into the club, where we'd be without that? Because the Glazers ain't putting their hands in their pockets.
No.
So then we'd be in an even worse position.
Yeah.
I think when you look at the debt that Manchester United owe out, I think 500-600 of it is the original debt that the Glazers put on the club. But then we still own 300 million in transfer fees. But some of the players aren't even here anymore. They've gone, but we still owe the money out.
That's what wrangles, isn't it? The fact that you spent all the money on Anthony, the fact that Casemiro's getting his wages untouched, the fact that Luke Shaw's getting his wages untouched. Then when you sack people from the tea room, it feels bang out of order because you've got some fat prick like Luke Shaw taking his money. But no, I don't like him. No, I've seen him doing his benefits, his mother's of benefit. Have you seen that?
No, I've not seen that.
Hanging about with Molly May, the dick.
Yeah.
Luke Shaw?
Yeah, no, he's a div. But anyway, aside from Luke Shaw being a fat div, we'll focus on the issues at hand, which is...
I didn't even have to say it. It's great.
Which is, I do understand why people think it's out of order, but I also understand why the custodian of Manchester United cannot allow the hemorrhaging of money. And it's about players hemorrhaging money to them, but equally, it's a business that needs to be...
I also think if you look at the amount of... I don't think it's just non-playing staff that are affected by this, because if you look at the last 12 to 24 months, we've seen big players on big wages leave the club. Like, even if you just look at like Martial left, Anthony's left, Rashford's out the door already.
Ten Hag's
gone.
Ten Hag's
Well, we did replace him, right, with Ruben Amorim.
No, but it still cost you 14 million.
It cost us money, but I'm on about a lot of the wage bill's been shrunk down as well. So it's not just the non-playing staff's wage bill that's been decreased. It's also been the playing staff's.
But what if you asked someone from the office that was like doing their job well, loved Man United, supported Man United their entire life, been there for 20 years in the office, and you look up, it's not about signing Casemiro that you argue was a good sign at the time. You could argue that. What about Dan Ashworth? 14 million quid, he gets 5 months. 5 months. And half that time was what? On gardening leave from his previous job. He couldn't do it. He was a non-compete. So you're like, I've done my job for Man United for 20 years. Maybe my whole family supports Man United. I'm losing my 30 grand a year job for someone 14 million quid.
That's the point.
The 40 million,
that's the point.
Just to correct you there before the comments, the 40 million total was combined Ten Hag, his staff, and Ashworth. I think the Ashworth one was around 4 million, but still, 4 million is a lot of money.
The point stands.
The point stands,
Yeah, the point stands.
Other executives that are a bit anonymous. It's like, it's crazy.
No, I know.
But I think the club, unfortunately, they have to make some tough decisions.
But it feels like you're breaking the club down to rebuild it. Like, how long is this rebuilding process going to...
I said like the other week, like burn it down and let's start again.
Yeah, fine. But other clubs need to make some tweaks. Like Manchester City, even, who've had a pitiful season by their standards. You can see that they're a couple of tweaks away from winning the league. Well, what is Manchester United?
No, we're a couple of tweaks away from competing with Brighton.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I agree.
That's crazy. I think you could get top 4 next season if you get it right.
We get top 4,
top 5,
15th this year.
You don't think top 5 next season?
This
winning the Europa League.
Forest drop off.
It's not about the competition. It's about the recruitment of Manchester United over the past half decade. Bruno Fernandes aside, they're shit.
There's no world they can come top 5 next season for you. That's interesting.
If Rasmus Højlund is leading the line, nothing is
It won't
possible.
be.
But you
He'll
know
be
what,
gone.
though?
Surely he'll be gone.
Just on that, and to kind of give United fans some hope, because I'm sure they need it. Like, because of the amount of players we have got rid of over the last 2 or 3 years, and not, like, we've brought in players, but not on the wages they were, and potentially some fees we could receive. There will be wiggle room there. It's just whether
Too many players are going to sit on their. Too many players are going to sit on their contracts, though. Like, you're not getting rid of a Casemiro. I don't think you get rid of Marcus Rashford.
I think Rashford will go. Even if it's
only
like
if someone
someone like
matches-
Højlund, Højlund's on a
what
big
it'll end up
contract.
being?
It's going nowhere.
Xerxes.
You know what will end up being? It'll be Rashford's agreed a move to Villa, but they're only going to pay him 200 grand a week. So now we have to give him
The signing on fee.
5
You
mil
have to-
payoff.
yeah.
Something. That's what's going to
Yeah.
happen. likely.
Yeah, but that
then
costs
that's
you.
a big
That
another
costs
hole
you.
in the
That costs you,
balance
yeah.
sheet again.
Yeah, no, it's certainly a mess at Manchester United.